if it matters, then we are bringing it to you here, live on Morning Spring, right here at Western Spring Television, where we talk about issues that shape our nation. We have powerful conversations. We're going to insightful analysis of issues in the news. That and many more you should expect on the program, always from Mondays to Friday, right here on this channel. StarTimes Channel 190 DTT. And of course, we also stream live on YouTube. You can also check out reels on other social media platforms, talking about Facebook, X, I wanted to say Twitter, X and Instagram, and of course, TikTok as well. So once again, welcome. Emeka Daniel is my name. Thank you for joining us once again.
A beautiful morning to you as a viewer. It's a beautiful morning, and it's morning spring on Western Spring Television. This is where we bring you what is happening and how it's happening around the state and in the world at large. And this is where we give you quality conversations around topical issues right here on the show with, of course, our in-house analysts right here. My name is Temitope Ajicholodwola. Looking forward to a beautiful morning with you, the viewer. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. We'll kickstart from the front page of the newspaper. But before we do that, we take a short break. When we return, we go straight into the newspaper review segment. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We begin this morning from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Let's check out some of the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. One party state, Jonathan warns against backdoor manipulations. One party state, Jonathan warns against backdoor manipulations. You'll find a story in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning on page 12. Away from that, negligence, pilot's error responsible for Wigwe's death. Negligence, pilot's error responsible for Wigwe's death. That's according to reports. You find a story on page 15. The United States National Transportation and Safety Board, NTSB, they've concluded their investigations, and they actually released a report claiming that negligence and pilot's error actually led to the death of Herbert Wigwe, the former chairman of Access Bank. Quite an unfortunate one right there. You can read up that story on page 15 of the Nigerian Tribune. You recall that he lost his life in a helicopter crash in the United States, and now they are saying it is pilot's error. You know, there were a lot of speculations then. When his aide was given the account, he said the weather was bad that day, that he was even worried. That, imagine the aide, Wigwe's aide, who is not an aviation professional, I mean, raising concerns that he feels the weather is bad. So he was supposed to be on that flight, but he opted to go by road and to join them later at the hotel. When he made, according to his account, because I listened to a speech he gave then when he was given that account, when he raised those concerns, Herbert Wigwe, his boss, was like, well, this is the United States. They know what they are doing. But unfortunately, he lost his life in that crash.
Well, thank God that more than a year after the final situational report is right out here, and we can say, I'm glad that it eventually came out. There are some claims that, I should say, in Nigeria, it possibly would not have come out at the end of the day. But thank God, somehow, they're going to get justice somehow right there. Even if nothing is going to be done after this, but at least we can trace it that it was an error and negligence. And I know that they're going to do something about it. And people that are supposed to be held responsible and to face the full rules of the law are going to do so.
Absolutely. Away from that, still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning, Nelfund denies fraud allegation, explains how agency disbursed 54 billion naira to 293,000 students from 303 tertiary institutions. You find a story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Nelfund denies fraud allegation. Court stops Ekiti PDP LG Congress. Court stops Ekiti PDP Local Government Congress. You find a story on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away from that, black smoke seen from Sistine Chapel as 133 cardinals enter conclave to elect new pope. Black smoke seen from Sistine Chapel as 133 cardinals enter conclave to elect new pope. Of course, the process has begun to elect a new pope. When you see a black smoke, it simply means that's no success yet. So they have to go back and start with their rituals all over again until they finally get a new pope. And they will stay in that conclave until a new pope is elected. It doesn't matter how long it takes. If it takes them 6 months, they're going to be there for 6 months. For as long as it takes until they come to an agreement, they reach an agreement and say, this is a cardinal we are electing to be our new pope. Away from that, moving to the top strip of the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government working with foreign local allies to trace sources of terrorist drones. Federal government working with foreign local allies to trace sources of terrorist drones. And that's according to Defense Minister. You find a story on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away from that, 21 out of 24 reps defectors joined APC since July. 21 out of 24 reps defectors joined APC since July. That's according to the rep spokesman. You find a story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Senate passes tax reform bill, retains VAT, company tax at 7.5%, 30%. Senate passes 2 tax reform bills, retains value-added tax, company tax at 7.5% and 30% respectively. You find a story on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away from that, LP crisis, Abure-led National Working Committee suspends Oti, Kingibe, Nwokocha, others. LP crisis, Abure-led National Working Committee suspends Oti, Kingibe, Nwokocha, others. With riders here, Namadi-led LP gives Abure 48 hours to stop parading self as chairman. NCC raises disciplinary panel, probes corruption allegations, abuse of office, passes vote of confidence in Obi Oti. Drama playing out right there in the Labour Party. Just yesterday, they suspended the Abure faction. Actually suspended Governor Alex Oti, yes. Senator Riti Kingibe, Senator Nwokocha, and some others, about 6 of them. And in that statement, they didn't mention Senator Nenadi Usman, Esther Nenadi Usman. According to them, they say she's not even a member of the LP, that she's not a registered member, so they won't give her, they won't honor her with any disciplinary action. Yeah. So a lot of things. They also said she, that talking about Nenadi Usman, does not have any moral rights to talk about issues about corruption, that she should tell Nigerians, I mean, how she acquired her wealth, that she acquired a radio station in Kaduna, and a whole lot of other stuff right there. Well, that's what we'll see. I mean, internal conflicts within parties, and Labour Party, for one, has been in the news for a long time now. Julius Abure still parading himself as chairman. Then you also have the other faction of Alex Oti and Peter Obi and Nenadi Usman, always at each other. So what exactly is going on right now?
Well, I want to see things differently. I want to point out something that we probably are not looking at. This, that the Abure-led faction, whether he is the chairman, whether he is accepted or not, and whether he's supposed to step down, that's another matter entirely. But this is how a working party a serious party is supposed to be proactive. When you find that there are anti-party activities within your party, when you find that there are, allegations of corruption or whatever it is in your party, you take swift action. You suspend who you're supposed to suspend. You give a free exit to whoever you're supposed to, to evict from your party. That was what PDP was supposed to have done in the first place. And PDP waited till the house, till thieves, robbers, manipulators enter through the back door and cut it away with their resources, human resources now. But we're talking about Labour Party today. I think that there is something huge. There is a big lesson for other parties to learn from this action. You suspend people, let them know that you're accountable to a party. You're accountable to the constitution of a party. And that is what I took. That's my takeaway from, what happened. So whether the court has stated that Abure is not the chairman, that's another case. They should fight it, legally again. And they should ask that or find a way for the authorities to really, really do their jobs around that line. But for what it's worth, I think that if there is a serious party to be copied, or if there is a serious thing to be copied about the party, such should be taken from the Labour Party concerning this issue.
Absolutely. And talking about the courts, the Supreme Court didn't give any categorical statement concerning who the chairman is. They just absolved themselves from that responsibility, saying, hey, the parties should respect their own internal processes and practice internal democracy. So what they only did was, before now, the appeal court, Court of Appeal, actually upheld the ruling recognizing Julius Abure as chairman. But the Supreme Court said that the Court of Appeal does not have jurisdiction to make that decision, that you should leave it to the party, let them decide. So it's just about interpretation of the Supreme Court judgment. Talking about the crisis rocking the Labour Party, one of the opposition parties in Nigeria. Away from that, moving on to other stories, still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Benue governor rejects Reps Committee invitation, approaches Supreme Court to challenge it. Benue governor rejects Reps Committee invitation, approach Supreme Court. He approaches Supreme Court to challenge it. That's talking about Governor Hyacinth earlier, right there. And with a rider, says opposition planning to remove him. Interesting. And speakers of state assemblies say invitation overreach of constitutional authority. You'll find that story right there on page 2. You will recall that the House of Reps actually invited the governor of Benue State and also Plateau State, I think Zamfara as well, to appear before that committee. But the Benue State governor is saying, no, the ruling party is trying to remove me from office. And the members of the House of Assembly, State House Assembly, are saying that this is actually an overreach of the constitutional authority of the House of Reps.
I don't understand what exactly is an overreach. These are the reps. They have the power to invite you over, and you should respond. But because we have leaders who are themselves unaccountable, who are themselves, they break the rules that they are setting themselves. And so how do you expect that you'll be taken seriously? And you were saying in the other day that, are those people really serious? We're talking about being serious with your job, knowing what your job is, knowing what the Constitution says, interpreting it accordingly. According to that, they have the right. They have, everything within the Constitution, their constitutional rights can invite you over, and you should respond to that. But then, talking about I don't even know where we go from here, because both parties now are in their own rights leadership. We're talking about the legislature now, and we're talking about the executive arm of government. So I don't know how, if we're seeing this at one of the two core parts of our government, I don't know what the people themselves should copy and what we should do.
Well, he is approaching the Supreme Court. Let's see what verdict they will give to that. Finally, from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Bagudu, local councils' wards must transform to centers of inclusive development. Bagudu, local councils' wards must transform to centers of inclusive development. Says authority should be vehicle for growth. Says authority should be a vehicle for growth. And that'll be all from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, so let's move now to Daily Trust newspaper. And the banner headline says, one party state's dangerous for Nigeria. That's according to Jonathan. And according to the Tribune, the way it's put there, it says one party state. Jonathan wants against backdoor manipulations. I feel like any intellectual person would know that such massive defections around or in any party at all to another party would warrant or would have, included or would have involved backdoor manipulations and sort consultations and then, permutations of such degree. And then this is good coming from one of the past presidents of the country saying one party state is dangerous for Nigeria. And I hope that people will heed the warning now that they still can. Below the nameplates, just above that banner headline, Labour Party suspends Abia Governor Kingibe for others. IGP sets up special police unit for elites protection. IGP sets up special police unit for elites protection. I don't know what your thoughts are, Daniel, but for me, I think this is an aberration.
Talking about
setting up a special police unit for elites protection.
Police protection, but they've always had a protection unit,
yes.
Unless they just want to make it special.
No, this is a special one now. They've always just picked, from the police force. But now they're setting up a special unit for that purpose.
Well, if you ask me, that might not be our priority right now. We're having insecurity, we're having terrorism and banditry. We should be looking more at strengthening special forces, to combat banditry, terrorism and all that, not forces to protect the elite. An average policeman should be trained to do that. So it's not, how do I put it now? It is not as serious as the real, issues we are facing. I believe an average policeman, they have departments in their squad, in their force that can take care of that. I don't really think we need a special,
I think that what it means about being special now will be that they will always have their pick from that pool. Not because they're going to have special trainings different from the normal police force. This is that, when they're recruiting now, it's going to be more than they would normally have done because now they're trying to set up a special, pool for elite protection. I think that's what this is going to be about. But I feel that the elite, I think that there is a particular analyst that we've always had here who says that the Nigerian government, the practice that we have is not exactly democracy. It's elite, elitism. That's what he calls it. And now the police is setting up. This is an institution that is supposed to be, especially for the people. And this is showing that Nigeria is actually divided along elitism and, the rest of the people.
Yeah, trying to, recognize them, create, make room for them, especially.
Exactly. And people.
But if you say if that squad is just to, prevent indiscriminate deployment to elite and just have a special one for them, so be it. But again, what about the general mass? What about the people? What about the citizens? What considerations have been made for them?
Yes. So, we hope that you can check the details of that story right there on Daily Trust newspaper. Flying Eagles reach AFCON quarterfinals. That's still on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. And let's move to the bottom strip. Insecurity Minister, National Assembly Tifa. Well, I feel like when the National Assembly is pointing out in an ideal situation, when they are pointing out a thing, even if it is not exactly what it is, I think it is a pointer to the fact that you might not have been looking at that situation from that angle. and it probably is time to look at it from that angle. The National Assembly, they feel that the armed forces of Nigeria are not as equipped, or they don't have better equipment or good enough equipment that matches up to that of the terrorists. They believe that the terrorists have more modern or very advanced technological weaponry, but the minister is insisting that the armed forces have good equipment or better equipment.
No,
now.
they should just prove it. If you insist on better equipment, just prove it to Nigerians. Okay. Just prove it. Just flush out the terrorists. Okay, that's it. Outmaneuver them, overpower them, and let us know that indeed you have better equipment.
All right. On page 21, apprentice impregnates boss's daughter, 9 others in 5 months. That's on page 21 of Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Senate retains 7.5% VAT. Case tax appeal tribunal. And that's on page 10 of Daily Trust newspaper. And on page 26, soldiers and sergeants die in battle over Borno community. And those headlines on the face of Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
And from the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, we move to the Nation newspaper. NAF boosts air power against terrorists with 9 fighter jets. NAF boosts air power against terrorists with 9 fighter jets. Talking about the Nigerian Air Force. With a rider, 49 more aircraft coming. Badaru, terrorist leaders among 13,543 killed. Badaru, terrorist leaders among 13,543 killed. That's a good one for the Nigerian Air Force, taking delivery of 9 fighter jets and expecting 49 more aircraft. That'll be huge investment in security right there. Talking about the Nigerian Air Force. Away from that, moving to the top strip of the Nation newspaper this morning. IMF confirms Nigeria's full repayment of $3.4 billion COVID-19 loan. IMF confirms Nigeria's full repayment of $3.4 billion COVID-19 loan. Away from that, court admits Kano's inciting broadcasts videos as exhibit. Court admits Kano's inciting broadcasts videos as exhibits. I'm talking about the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The court has, acknowledged his videos where he was allegedly inciting the people as evidence, as exhibit in court. And I think one of his relatives was also barred for
sister-in-law.
Exactly, sister-in-law for streaming the court proceedings, for releasing videos of the court proceedings right there. That's talking about the trial of the embattled leader of the IPOB group. Away from that, Black Smoke signaled no Pope elected on day 1. Black Smoke signaled no Pope elected on day 1. Talking about the cardinals in conclave right now to elect a new Pope for the Catholic Church. Bagudu, councils, wards must become centers of development. Councils, wards must become centers of development. Away from that, still on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. Labour Party suspends OT, Kingibe, others. Labour Party suspends OT, Kingibe, others. With a rider, Nenadi faction seeks financial probe. Governor, Abure a clown looking for crown. Abure a clown looking for crown. That's according to the governor right there. And finally, from the front page of the Nation newspaper at the bottom strip, rumpus in Ekiti judiciary over exclusion of judge in CJ nominations. Rumpus in Ekiti judiciary over exclusion of judge in CJ nominations. You'll find that story on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And that'll be all from the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Right, and this newspaper, the banner headline says, finally, Senate passes 2 tax reform bills, retains 7.5% VAT. And here are the rises. Federal government gets 10%, states 55%, local government 35%. Defines derivation as place of consumption. And right here, another writer says, OK's Tax Appeal Tribunal establishment charges FIRS to NRS chairman to be named executive vice chairman. Right there, they saw the one tax agency to get 2% cost of collection. And thus other writers to that story. Finally, Senate passes 2 tax reform bills, retains 7.5% VAT. Just above that, below the nameplate, Jonathan introducing one-party state via backdoor invitation to crisis. Jonathan introducing one-party state via backdoor invitation to crisis. There are several other writers there. You can check them out on the page of this day newspaper. Above the nameplate right there this morning, Wigway's helicopter crash due to negligence, pilot's error, NTSB reveals. And that story right there is on this day live newspaper this morning. And those headlines coming through this day newspapers this morning.
Well, and that brings us to a conclusion of the newspaper review segment of the program this morning. We'll take a break now. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us.